The member for Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Will the Prime Minister update the House on how the government is providing real needs-based funding that is consistent across all states and territories and finally delivers on David Gonski's plan for schools? Is the Prime Minister aware of any alternative approaches?
The Prime Minister has the floor.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for her question. Mr Speaker, I can advise the honourable member that all the 48 primary and secondary schools and all the more than 23,000 students in her electorate of Chisholm will benefit from the government's record investment in schools. This is what my government is delivering for schools: fair, needs-based funding that is consistent across every state and territory and is transparent, and people can see what they're going to get. They can see the basis of the funding. They don't have to worry or wonder about 27 secret deals done by the Leader of the Opposition in the Gillard government, stitching up one deal after another, heedless as to whether it was consistent or fair, just trying to get another signature on another piece of paper. So far did he travel from the recommendation of David Gonski that Ken Boston himself, Gonski's co-panel member
for Bruce,
described Labor's funding model as a corruption. Strong language. His language.
The member for Sydney
it
will
shows
cease
how
interjecting.
outraged they were. And Mr Speaker,
The member for Sydney is now warned.
Mr Speaker, our funding model is sector blind. It means that government, Catholic and independent schools are all funded based on need. Every school can find out what the funding is, and it is a record funding level this year and every year. $17.5 billion this year, increasing to $30.6 billion in 2027. That's an extra $18.6 billion over the decade. And no wonder it has been well received, because it is seen to be exactly what it should be: fair, needs-based, consistent, transparent. Transparency is not a long suit, of course, of the Leader of the Opposition, as his former union members used to find out, but neither is consistency. This is an opposition that, as we've seen, is trying to run a protection racket for the banks that they claim to be wanting to bring to book. They won't fund the NDIS that the Leader of the Opposition spoke so warmly and proudly about. He asked whether I'd been at some meetings with him when he was the Minister for Disabilities. Not surprisingly, I wasn't accompanying him around the countryside. But I tell you, the meeting he's failed to turn up to, it's the meeting of this parliament when we vote to fund the NDIS. That's the question. It's all very well to showboat and grandstand, but an honest leader, a fair income leader, funds the
Prime
promises he
Minister's
makes us.
time
He
has
has not
concluded.
done